Welcome to Biology of Marine Mammals. I'm Dr. Leslie Williams, and this special lecture explores the northern elephant seals as an application to pinniped mating systems. In this lecture, we leave the confines of the studio and take you on site to Año Nuevo State Park, one of the premier breeding colonies for northern elephant seals. There, we'll meet with Ranger Frank Balthus, who will discuss the history of breeding colonies, the male reproductive strategies, and how males establish dominance. Northern elephant seals are truly a success story in conservation. Hunted to near extinction in the 1850s, they have since rebounded beautifully and now form breeding colonies from Northern California all the way down to Baja California, anywhere from late November to early March. We take you to Año Nuevo State Park with Ranger Frank Balthus, who will discuss the repopulation of these northern elephant seals in Año Nuevo. Welcome, I'm Dr. Leslie Williams, and we're here at Año Nuevo State Park with Frank Balthus, the State Park Ranger for Año Nuevo. So you've been here for quite some time.
Yes.
With the northern elephant seals, so you probably have a great deal of knowledge about the northern elephant seal breeding colonies here in Año Nuevo. So I was hoping that you could take some time out today and tell us a little bit about the establishment of the breeding colonies here in Año Nuevo State Park.
Well, elephant seals were hunted to near extinction, and a few animals survived off of Guadalupe Island off of Mexico, and they've made a great comeback from them with protection. And it shows what we can do for a species in decline with providing protection. They were hunted for their blubber and oil, and after the whales were harvested and we were running low on whales, humans turned to elephant seals. Luckily, a few animals survived, and because they are not all on land at the same time. And though that original population moved north, they breed on islands because they're not the predators such as grizzly bears on islands.
Right.
And so they moved north up to the Channel Islands off of Santa Barbara and to Año Nuevo Island, and the first pup was born on Año Nuevo Island in 1961. And gradually the Año Nuevo Island became more full with elephant seals, and the first pup was then born on the mainland here, where they ran out of room on the island in 1975. And so from that first pup in 1975, by 1980 there were around 300 pups born on the mainland, and then currently we're up to around 2,000 pups that are born annually on the Año Nuevo mainland.
Excellent.
And it varies from year to year, but it's just wonderful to see a species that's recovered from near extinction.
Right, so the estimates from Guadalupe Island were that there could have been as few as a dozen individuals left, and that all of this current population, what would you say the current population is for the northern elephant seal?
The population currently, we believe, is over 150,000 animals.
So that was within a little over a century, correct?
Yeah, and so there are worries about the genetic diversity,
right.
And we talk about a genetic bottleneck,
right.
That may there could be more susceptibility to disease or other problems with that genetic bottleneck. But so far they've been successful, and we haven't really seen negative effects of that.
So they've been lucky in that sense, unlike possibly some of the other pinniped species like the Hawaiian monk seals, for example, haven't been faring reproductively as well as the northern elephant seals, which seem to be very robust.
One thing that the elephant seals have going for them is that they dive so deep. They can dive down thousands of feet,
right.
Down to even 5,000 feet, and they feed. There's not too much competition down at those very deep depths.
Right.
And there's not too much competition from man, where the Steller sea lion has a lot of competition from man, reducing the food stocks, the fish stocks that they would feed on. And so elephant seals are in a niche that really benefits them.
As a wrap-up, we look at some of the things we just learned, including the fact that elephant seals were hunted to near extinction, and as few as 60 may have survived, but now we have over 150,000 individuals. Interestingly enough, even though this is a severe genetic bottleneck, there is no indication that this has hampered the success, unlike some of the other bottlenecks that we've seen, such as the Hawaiian monk seals, which are still struggling to rebound. And of course, Ranger Frank discusses that maybe some of the success is attributed to their ecological niche. They end up diving so deep that they do not compete with the human fisheries for their food. Therefore, they are able to get enough food to make nice, robust, and happy big northern elephant seals that contributes to their reproductive success. Now, northern elephant seals make a great case study in terms of mating systems. In fact, in the early winter months, males come out first and establish dominance. This is done through a series of vocalization and sometimes even bloody fighting. Once they've established dominance, they wait for the females to arrive. But what's really interesting is how they continue to maintain and establish dominance, and some of the other approaches that maybe some of these subordinate males might try to employ in order to gain some reproductive success. We turn back to Ranger Frank Balthus, who's going to discuss the maintenance and establishment of dominance among the male hierarchies and some of the more creative approaches that the subordinate males take to try to still gain reproductive success.
There are many harems, and they may vary in size from just a few females up to hundreds of females.
Okay.
But a bull can only control the access to so many females. It's easiest if if it's in a cove and they can cut off the access for other bulls. But there may be 300 females all in one area, but one bull couldn't control that whole area. He may be dominant over every other bull, but physically he couldn't. He'd be run ragged if he was trying to run around and keep all the other bulls away from that many females.
Right.
There's only so much he can do, especially the bulls are not eating or drinking the whole time that they're here. So they have limited energy, and it's really a good conservation story. They have to conserve their energy.
Okay. What happens to the other males? How about the ones that are like what we might consider to be beta males, the ones that are just below the alpha and might be able to copulate with a few females? What do they do? Where do they go?
So the other males in the hierarchy, obviously sometimes they'll be chased away from the harem, and they're far back from the harem, and some of them have a strategy to go way back into the bushes or back into the hinterlands and just lay low for a while, saving energy. Other ones stay right near the harem, and when they see the alpha sleeping, they'll try to sneak in. Okay. And what's interesting is sometimes the alpha will use a beta male, which is a secondary male, which he tolerates to stay nearby the harem, and that beta male may do some of the work for him in keeping the other bulls away. So he's almost like he has an assistant that's keeping other bulls away, and maybe that beta might be rewarded mating later in the season.
So I know that northern elephant seals, some of the males employ what's called a sneaker approach. Can you describe some actions that you've seen where males, like what type of males? Is it the beta male? Is it more subordinate juvenile males where they pretend that they're almost females and they lay low and try to sneak in? And
I have seen a sneaker. One case where a fairly young male, they'd start to get the nose at about 3 years old.
Okay.
And an alpha bull is more like 10 or 11 years old. But let's say a 4-year-old, 5-year-old male who could be active sexually gets near the harem. He almost looks like a female. He keeps his head down really low, sort of pushing it in the sand until he can get in really close. And if he happens to hit the right female that's in estrus, maybe she won't protest, she won't wake up the alpha bull, and he'll be able to mate successfully. So that's the sneaker approach, to stay low, stay quiet, and hope you get the right female.
But that only works while they're still juveniles and they don't have the enlarged nose.
If you've got a big nose and a big body, you're going to be discovered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's estimated that only about like 5% of the northern elephant seal males, somewhere between 5 and 10%, actually get to be alphas at any time in their life. I mean, it's possible that you could go your whole life without being an alpha.
Yeah, most bulls.
Most bulls. So what are some of the other strategies that they try to employ in order to get successful fertilization?
So some of the bulls their strategy is to go down onto the beach and wait for the females departing. The females will mate with the alpha up in the harem when they're in estrus, but eventually they lose so much weight they have to go out to sea. And so they have to cross that zone on the beach. And so usually when a female heads down, there'll be 5 to 10 males waiting on the beach just for that departing female. And it's much easier for the female to depart if it's at high tide and she can slip into the water. But if it's low tide, it can take hours for her to depart with maybe 5 to 10 males all fighting over her on the way out. But that is a strategy to wait on the beach for a departing female to try to mate with a female then.
So do you see this at a certain time of year?
Yeah, you'd see that after the females are in estrus, so the best time to see that would be in February.
Okay. And then with the males, so you have, when you look at your age classes then, at which point do some of the males basically, even the ones that might have been an alpha male at some point, become too old and they're no longer dominant? Do you ever see that?
Yeah, they're at probably, oftentimes males will be dominant as an alpha for a year or two, and then they disappear. We don't, it's not like you see an old age home for old bulls. When a bull gets really old, they tend not to come back. I've seen a case of that, a very old bull hauled out on the beach, but usually they go off and die at sea.
Really?
And you don't find old dead bulls on the beach very often. It's very rare, and they'll disappear. It takes a lot out of them. You figuring when they're an alpha bull here, they may mate with up to 100 females. They're not eating, not drinking, and they've got to fight off all the other males. It's a huge job.
So once you have an alpha that's established a harem or a dominance, do other males continuously challenge that alpha throughout the breeding season, which lasts a couple months?
Well, you get the most challenges, especially when the females are in estrus.
Okay.
In other words, it gets really crazy around Valentine's Day and in February when a lot of females are in estrus, and it's when the females are in estrus that the males will take the greatest risks to mate with a female. They'll risk even being bitten by the alpha bull in order to try to mate, because they know this is their last chance.
Okay.
So you get more of that going then. And then also when it's cooler weather, when it's rain, it may not be a great time to be out here when it's pouring rain, but it's much more active when it's really a rainy day, and you get lots of bulls sneaking in and tons of activity.
So when they do the challenges, are they doing these bloody fights again, or is it more just vocalizations and looks and positioning?
A lot of positioning. It's almost like a chessboard. I mean, if you spend a lot of time with elephant seals, you can watch them, and it's like watching a game of chess, and how each player is facing. It's very important how they're facing, what vocalizations they're doing, but but there's always the unpredictable element to it, and there's a lot more activity when it's cool.
So a lot of it, you're saying that basically, like if you've got two male elephant seals that are staring each other down, even if they're not rearing up and basically clashing with their chest, that's still a form of one male elephant seal kind of challenging another, possibly?
Exactly, and what you really watch for is when one of them turns out of the way.
Okay.
If you have two males headed towards each other and both sort of in a threatening posture, when one of them turns to the side or turns away and then it shows instantly you know who's dominant.
Okay, so that's the dominance and the submissive.
And they're trying to save energy, so it may be more energy efficient for them to avoid the fight, and they're not looking to destroy themselves by fighting when they don't have to.
And that concludes our wrap-up of the male reproductive strategies for the northern elephant seals. Now, this lecture will continue into the next module, where we will explore the female side of the mating systems. And with that, I will see you for the next lecture.